Let's do a study today about the oneness of God. And we'll be doing that study in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. And the Apostle Paul is talking about when Israel came out of Egypt. It reads like this: They did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. So what we want to know is, who was Christ in the Old Testament? So Paul gives us the key to understand that here. He says there was a rock with Israel in the Old Testament, and he said that rock was Christ. So if we can find out who that rock was, then we'll know who Christ was in the Old Testament. So with that key in mind, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Verses 3 and 4 read like this: Because I will publish the name of the Lord. Moses is writing here, teaching us, ascribe you greatness to our God. Interesting to note that the word God there in the Hebrew is the word Elohim, a word that many Trinitarian scholars say proves that there is more than one who is God, or more than one God person, they say, because of, they say Elohim is a plural here. But let's continue to read there. It says, I will publish the name of the Lord, ascribe you greatness to our Elohim. He is the rock. He is the rock. There's not more than one in He, is there? So we're talking about one being here, one singular person who is our God. According to Moses, He is our Elohim. Now, then he says, He is the rock. He is the rock. The Apostle Paul told us that that rock was Christ. So here we come up to the truth that in the Old Testament, Christ was our God, our Elohim. So for those who have a problem with that, who think that Christ was not God in the Old Testament, we have now presented to them some glorious truth here to consider. That the rock in the Old Testament that Paul said was Christ, we're taught here that that rock was Christ, and that the rock here is Elohim. Elohim is a He, and Elohim is our God, according to Moses. Then he says, all His ways, note, again singular, all His ways are judgment. A God of truth and without iniquity, just and right is He. So we're talking about the fact that the God of the Old Testament was called the rock. And we've seen that that rock was God, or Elohim, according to Moses. So when Paul says that rock was Christ, we understand that Christ in the Old Testament was the one called Elohim. So let's drop down one verse from there and go to verse 6, where it reads like this: Do you thus requite the Lord, O foolish people and unwise? Is not He thy Father that hath bought thee? Hath He not made thee and established thee? So the one that Moses is talking about here, the rock, the Elohim of Israel, the same one that Paul said was Christ, now we're told that He was the Father. He was what? The Father. The rock was the Father in the Old Testament. So we help people to understand that, don't understand that Jesus was God in the Old Testament. We help them to see that truth. And now we're going to help those who say that, well, yeah, we believe He was God, but He wasn't the Father. What does Deuteronomy 3 verse 6 say? Is He not thy Father? It's talking about the one that was the rock. Is he not thy Father that hath bought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee? So yes, it was the rock. It was the rock, the Father, that had made them and established them. And yet again, Paul says that rock was who? That rock was Christ. So there we present some good truth to those who say, well, we believe Jesus is God, but he's not the Father. Well, friends, if he's not the Father, then he's not God, according to what Moses is teaching us. The Elohim, that is their rock, is also the Father. Now let's drop down to verse 18 of Deuteronomy 32. And it reads there, of the rock that begat thee thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten God that formed thee. So we're told there that the rock is the one who begot them. In other words, is the Father. Is the Father. Paul said that rock was Christ. So yes, in the Old Testament, Christ was the Father. He was with Israel and he was called the rock, and Paul said that rock was Christ. Deuteronomy 32:18 lets us know of the rock that begot thee. Moses said, you're unmindful. So the rock is the Father. He's the one who begot us. So when Paul teaches us, the New Testament church, that in the Old Testament, the one that was the rock was Christ, we go back there and we look at some scriptures about the rock and we see that he indeed was the Father. So now let's go to Psalm 62, verse 5 and 6 for some more interesting truth there. And we're told, my soul, wait thou only upon God. There's that Hebrew word again, Elohim. Elohim, the one that's actually a plural here. Trinitarians want to try to make it into multiple God persons, but the psalmist here doesn't make it into multiple God persons, the same as Moses didn't make Elohim into God persons. Because it reads, my soul, wait thou only upon Elohim, for my expectation is from him. Him, not them. Because Elohim in regard to Yah in the Old Testament is him, not plural, but singular. So we're in Psalm 62, verses 5 and 6. He, that is Elohim, he only is my rock. He only is my rock. So Elohim only is the rock. And yet again, Paul said that rock was who? That rock was Christ. So Christ is not only our Father, but he is, of course, our Elohim. There's not more than one Elohim. How do we know? Because of the context. Let's read it again. My soul, wait thou only upon Elohim, for my expectation is from him, not them. He only is my rock. So we know for sure this is talking about Christ. But look at what follows. And my salvation. He only is my rock. Paul said that was Christ. And my salvation. You know what the Hebrew word is there for salvation? Yeshua. Yeshua. Let's look at it that way. He only is my rock and my Yeshua. So Paul's already told us that that rock was Christ. Now we're told in Psalms that the one who is the rock is Yeshua. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that glorious? Yeshua is crowned gloriously to be our God and Father in the Old Testament, our Elohim. He is my defense, I shall not be moved. So let's let this sink in for a minute. He only is my rock. Yeshua only is the rock in the Old Testament. There was nobody else that was the rock in the Old Testament except Yeshua. Paul said that rock was Christ. Let's go for one more verse on this, and it's going to be in Psalms, or rather Isaiah 44, verse 8. And there we read, "Fear you not, neither be afraid. Have not I told thee from that time, and have declared it? You are even my witnesses. Is there a God beside me?" Okay. It's notable that the word God there in the Hebrew is the word Eloah. Eloah is very specifically a singular term for our God. They say that the word Elohim, which the Trinitarians want to make into multiple God persons, is actually from this word Eloah, which is a specifically singular word for God. Singular word for God. And it reads there, "Is there Eloah beside me?" So who's the one talking here? That's going to be the great revelation of this study. He says, "Is there Eloah besides me?" In other words, is there any other singular one God besides me? Eloah speaking. "Yea, there is no God," says the Old King James Version, and that alone would be altogether glorious and wonderful, wouldn't it? That alone would show us that there is only one who is God, or Eloah, but actually the Hebrew there doesn't say God. What does it say? Let's read it again. "Is there Eloah besides me? Yea, there is no rock." That's what the Hebrew says. "Yea, there is no rock." So let's read it again, gloriously and wonderfully as it is in the Hebrew. "Is there Eloah besides me?" And I can't help but notice that word me. Singular, isn't it? It's not we, but it's me. "Is there Eloah besides me? Yea, there is no rock. I know not any." So Eloah says he doesn't know any other rock except himself. But the funny thing is, Paul said that rock was Christ. So here we have the wonderful, magnificent truth that in the Old Testament, Christ was Eloah, the one, the only singular El, God. And he says he doesn't know anyone else that was the rock. So when Trinitarians might say that, well, the Father was also the rock, no. Eloah says he doesn't know any other rock. So that would be saying that Christ didn't even know the Father, if their doctrine was true, which of course we know that it isn't. But the truth is that that rock in the Old Testament was Christ, according to Paul. And now we've seen that the rock was the Father in Deuteronomy 32:6 and 18. And we saw that the rock was Yeshua in Psalms 62. And now we see here in Isaiah 44, verse 8, that Eloah says that he is the rock, and he doesn't know anyone else that is the rock. So, yes, friends, it's true that in the Old Testament, the rock was Christ, and the rock was Eloah, and the rock was the Father, and the rock was Elohim. So what we're doing here is mightily exalting that Christ that Paul knew. He gave us a key. We can know who Christ was in the Old Testament. He says that rock was Christ. So I recommend doing a study on these verses, and I think it'll be highly enlightening.